I'm not one to get into the habit of following Trump's tweets or whatever these are called, his truths, since it's on Truth Social. But I really think when you add this to the other stuff that's being said by Republicans, it's really a sign of what might be to come. I think you can't be quiet when people are stoking political violence, because throughout history, when, individuals or groups started just kind of normalizing violent political rhetoric, violent political actions soon follow. This is Trump over the weekend. It's not The Onion. If you haven't seen it, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, if you have it, Colin. I guess he's mad at Mitch McConnell. Is McConnell approving all of these trillions of dollars worth of Democrat-sponsored bills without even the slightest bit of negotiation because he hates Donald J. Trump and he knows I am strongly opposed to them? Or is he doing it because he believes in the fake and highly destructive Green New Deal and he is willing to take the country down with him? In any event, either reason is unacceptable. He has a death wish, all capital. Let me repeat. He has a death wish, all caps. Must immediately seek help and advice from his China-loving wife, Coco Chow. I'm just going to leave that up so you could look at it if you haven't seen it. First of all, Mitch McConnell is a disgusting, vile cretin. He has done more to block progress, actually sabotage any type of progress than any Republican I can think of in the last 20, 30 years. So it pains me to have to defend. I don't want to say defend, but actually discuss Mitch McConnell in a somehow sympathetic light. Actually, put it back up, Colin. I want to go through it. So first of all, I don't know what he's talking about in terms of Mitch McConnell approving all these trillions of dollars. I don't know what he's talking about. McConnell, as far as I know, is against the Inflation Reduction Act, which honestly, the Inflation Reduction Act was basically written for Wall Street and special interests. It's not really going to lower inflation. It was a giveaway to the fossil fuel industry in many ways. That's why ExxonMobil was putting out statements in favor of it. McConnell wasn't for it, so I don't really know what he's talking about, that McConnell is approving all of these trillions of dollars worth of Democrat-sponsored bills. I mean, Trump, when he was president, spent trillions of dollars on tax cuts for wealthy people. So he seemed fine with that. McConnell was fine with that. And honestly, McConnell, when Trump was president, really pushed through all of Trump's regressive stuff, deregulation, tax cuts for the wealthy, etc. So on the merits, I don't really know what Trump is upset about in terms of policy. But put aside the policy, obviously, when he writes, he has a death wish, all caps, he's doing this intentionally. He is stoking to his base, which includes white militia members, which includes QAnon members, which includes Proud Boys, which includes Oath Keepers. Apologies if I'm forgetting any white supremacist or violent conspiracy groups. I mean, it's not even like subtle at this point. He is explicitly suggesting violence against Mitch McConnell. And I'm not for Mitch McConnell. And I would love bad things to happen to him politically. But whether you're progressive, conservative, neoliberal, it doesn't matter. We cannot cross the line and the threshold into normalizing political violence against those we disagree with. Here, Trump is very clearly tossing it out there for his base, which includes people, by the way, who shot up the FBI office in Cincinnati, which includes people who are threatening both politicians, FBI offices, the Department of Justice, all over the internet. I mean, it's not a dog whistle; it's just a siren, and people are going to follow Trump's lead. I mean, we have seen people, for example, kind of go up to Ted Cruz and McConnell at restaurants and give them a piece of their mind. I'm all for that. They're public servants, and please. Public servants should be made uncomfortable when they don't represent the public. There's a difference between confronting them with your words and now sending out the bat signal. He's got a death wish, wink, wink. But then the vile, like Mitch McConnell's wife is Asian, who happened to serve as Trump's transportation secretary, calling her Coco Chow. I mean, it's not surprising. Obviously, he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. I mean, Elizabeth Warren kind of brought that on with her stupidity. But I mean, this is just beyond, like, I never really covered Trump's like naughty language because you have enough people in the media doing that. But when his language is very clearly shifting to like, let's fuck up some people, excuse my French, he's got a death wish. I mean, people are going to follow. And make no mistake, if an attempt is made on Mitch McConnell, and I'm not advocating for that, clearly, regardless of how deplorable of a human being he is, you can look back to messages like this from Donald Trump because his supporters, not all of them, but a lot of them, view him as their fearless leader, view him as fighting the deep state, as fighting against the establishment, even though Trump is the establishment and basically operated as your card-carrying Chamber of Commerce Republican president. I don't know. It's pretty fucked up. And I think one of Trump's legacies will be that he made the abnormal normal. And the fact that he's putting this stuff out and it's kind of just people just go on and move on. I mean, Tina could tell you, Tina Desiree Berg, who co-hosts here with Ron Placone on Thursdays and does her own show here on Thursdays, Right Wing Insanity Report. Tina is immersed in all of these chat rooms, all of this online space with these violent groups, with white supremacist groups. They eat this shit up. And many of them look at this as Trump is telling us to do something. But Marjorie Taylor Greene did not want to be out-Trumped. Marjorie Taylor Greene did not want to be out-Trumped. She was at a Trump event, Trump rally in Michigan. And apparently, she also just said, to hell with the subtleties. Let's take a listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene warning that the Democrats are coming to kill you.
We're all targets now, though, for daring to push back against the regime, and it doesn't stop at a weaponized legal system. I'm not going to mince words with you all. Democrats want Republicans dead, and they've already started the killings. An 18-year-old boy was run down by a Democrat driver who confessed to killing the teenager simply because he was a Republican. Even right here in Michigan, just last week, an 83-year-old woman was shot in the back for advocating for the unborn. Joe Biden has declared every freedom-loving American an enemy of the state. But under Republicans, we will take back our country from the communists who have stolen it and want us to disappear. We will expose the unelected bureaucrats, the real enemies within, who have abused their power and declared political warfare on the greatest president this country has ever had.
First of all, we'll get to the killings. Do these people understand what communism is? Does Marjorie Taylor Greene understand what communism is? Joe Biden is a communist? I wish. Joe Biden is kind of a Republican from the 1990s. That's who Joe Biden is. He's basically like somewhere in between Bob Dole and, I don't know, Bob Dole and Newt Gingrich in the 1990s. He's not a communist. I wish he was a socialist. I wish Biden wasn't a corrupt puppet owned by Wall Street and big pharma and big real estate and Silicon Valley and the military industrial complex. I wish, but he's not a communist, unfortunately. But let's get to the two examples she showed. This is from the Washington Post. If you could pull that up, Colin, the Washington Post story. Go down to the part that says she gave two purported examples. So this is from the Washington Post in response to Marjorie Taylor Greene's Dems are coming to kill you. She gave two purported examples. One was the young man run over and killed in North Dakota by, as she framed it, a Democrat driver who confessed to killing the teenager simply because he was a Republican. The other was a woman in Michigan who was shot while, quote, advocating for the unborn. If we quickly work backward, we see how poorly predicated all of this is. In a speech last month, Biden decried the views of Trump's most fervent supporters, the ones who reject election results or play down threats posed by rioters at the Capitol on January 6th, people like Greene, in other words. But since it's perpetually useful for members of the right's political and media leadership to cast criticisms on a subset of the group as a criticism of the whole group, Biden's comments became an attack on every freedom-loving American. That idea that these, quote, enemies of the state, meanwhile, is pinned to the two acts of violence Greene cites as an appeal to anecdotes that should send up warning flags for any observer, particularly when considering the actual cases. The North Dakota incident has been a point of focus on the right for a week or two, given the intoxicated driver's assertion that the teenager was, quote, a Republican extremist. Police and witnesses say there was no political argument prior to the incident. The shooting in Michigan, meanwhile, was disputed. The shooter claims it was an accident. More to the point, though, voting records show only one person matching the shooter's name and age in the county where it occurred. That person has consistently voted in Republican primaries since at least 2014. Michigan doesn't have a registration by party. Then there's the detail that the victim wasn't actually killed. This isn't much to hang a Democrats want to kill us message on, though. Again, Greene has gone further with less, but what she's doing is tapping into and amplifying the evolving sense of victimization on the right, one that's regularly stoked with the right-wing universe. I mean, again, putting aside the kind of absurdity that Democrats want to kill Republicans, first of all, the Democratic Party and Democratic politicians are too spineless to do anything of the sorts. They're corrupt Democrats, and they're also spineless. So this, horror movie that she's putting out there, that Democrats are coming with their axes for your pro-life sisters or something, is absurd. But secondly, again, this is going to lead to violence. I mean, I have been to probably between 50 and 60 Trump rallies from 2016 and 2020. I covered them on the ground in Pennsylvania and Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Georgia. I've been to a lot of Trump events. I've been to kind of MAGA events like parades and flag drops. There's already kind of a fervor, shall I say. In some of these events, it's almost like a pack of hyenas. Frankly, mostly white, a lot of white dudes, frankly. And they kind of seem ready to pounce, and they feed off of the things that Trump says. They feed off the things Marjorie Taylor Greene say. In many cases, they are subconsciously racist or out and open, proudly racist. So we already know violence exists within this base, and Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene are taking that and basically pouring gasoline on it. I want to show Rick Scott, another corrupt Republican, also was guilty of the largest insurance fraud in American history down in Florida. He defrauded Medicare. So naturally, he then became the governor of Florida and now is a U.S. senator. But just look at Rick Scott twist himself into a human pretzel to try and avoid criticizing Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Over this weekend, we heard some pretty disturbing rhetoric from the former president, who tweeted that Senator McConnell has a death wish. He said some racist things about his wife, the former cabinet secretary, Elaine Chao. Last night at his rally, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene made a false claim that Democrats want Republicans dead, and they have, quote, already started the killings. Given the level of security threat right now, would you rebuke those comments?
Well, I think what we got to do is we got to bring everybody together. I would also say that what Vice President Harris said yesterday, that or day before yesterday, that if you have a different skin color, you're going to get relief faster.
That's not what the Vice President said.
So I think what we've got to do.
That's not what the Vice President said. She talked about equity and the problem within FEMA. But I'm specifically asking you about Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Trump.
Wait, Margaret, let's make sure. FEMA has to be colorblind. FEMA has to provide support to everybody. Now, here's what I'll tell you. I believe that we've got to do. President Trump has talked about this unbelievable spending that's causing inflation, hurting the poorest families. I grew up in a poor family. I watched inflation hurt my mom. We've got to watch how we spend this money.
I know, sir. So you're talking about substance, and I would love to talk to you about that. But what I quoted you was a phrase saying McConnell has a death wish. He said racist things about Elaine Chao. And then they have already started the killings. I mean, that's not a policy dispute, Senator. The language is what I'm talking about. Isn't that dangerous?
I think we all have to figure out, how do we start bringing people together and have a common goal to give every American the opportunity to get a great job, their kids to have an education they believe they can be anything, and make sure everybody lives in a safe community. That's what I do every day, and I try to bring people together to do that.
We could talk about Democratic Party corruption till we're blue in the face, and I certainly do, and probably going to bring it up in the next topic. Democrats are not your friends either. We live in the United Corporations of America. You got one party that's basically, wants to offer you crumbs and frame the crumbs that they're constantly offering you as historic achievements. And you got another party now that's saying, hey, get your gun. The killings are here. That's a pretty dreary situation for the working class, especially when you have a lot of people in despair. You have an economy that is not historic. You have an economy that is built on, a house of cards. You have an economy that has basically, rent is up 20 to 30% in a lot of cities. Food prices obviously are up. Housing prices are up. Electricity is up. Gas. You have a lot of people that are working multiple jobs. You have a lot of people that feel socially isolated. So when you already have, even though the media and the Democratic Party try to spin you and frame, oh, the economy is doing better. COVID is over. It's not over. Look on Twitter. Schools are already short-staffed because all their teachers are out with COVID. But you won't hear about that in the media. COVID is over. You have the conditions already there for unhinged people to be listening to Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and fucking spineless, corrupt assholes like Rick Scott and say, oh, maybe it's time. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.